The Breakdown.
Zwielicht by Mental Cruelty. This is the German quintet's fourth studio album, released the 23rd of June via Century Media Records. Zwielicht consists of 10 tracks, clocks in at around 48 minutes, and is the follow-up to 2021's A Hill to Die Upon EP. Zwielicht, for those who aren't German-speaking
Yeah, for all
us,
of these fucking losers who don't speak German, unlike us.
the English translation is Twilight. And what Twilight translates to in other languages, I don't know.
It's one of the best-selling books in history. So there's a comment here that I'm particularly fond of.
Yes. A quote.
From the band. Let us embrace a new era of darkness by bringing the black into blackened heavy music. Join us on the way down to infernal gates of hell to be rebirthed back to life. The album will contain the most mind-bending variety of different heavy musical influences and sounds, epic symphonic orchestra accompanied by slam breakdowns. This will have it all. Inspired from metaphors written by nature, death, and inner demons. I'm going to be real with y'all.
Had to quote.
I'm going to be real. They nailed it. They fucking nailed it. They set out to do, and they did.
Yes.
Absolutely 100%.
They had a vision. They delivered on that vision. And they did it with a new vocalist,
Yeah.
by the way. Not that we were really familiar. You know what? I wasn't very familiar with Mental Cruelty's game heading into this album.
Zero familiarity with Mental Cruelty. I
didn't
feel like
listen
the
to the
first
last
fucking Mental
album.
Cruelty album, like song I heard this year was like Forgotten Kings.
Yep. Hadn't heard the 3 albums before this one, so starting off fresh. And what I will tell you right off the bat is, as far as like the dynamic between the vocalists and the rest of this band goes, it's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm gonna be real with you. This is literally exactly what I'm looking for a deathcore album. Like, I'm such a mark for this. It's insane. I've been waiting for this deathcore album all goddamn year, and here it is. And I think, quite honestly, it's just shy of perfect. Now,
This checks enough boxes, though, as far as 2023 deathcore releases
the
go
thing
for
is
ya.
that it checks all the boxes, right?
Okay.
The only question here is if you can attribute all of them directly to Mental Cruelty. Because a lot of what I've seen go around about this band is probably the most obvious observation, which is that this is very Lorna Shore of them.
And you know, maybe even inherently so. Like, we're working with Josh Schroeder, who has produced for Lorna Shore in the past, and the Browning. Like, I'm sure a lot of that is intentional.
I mean, that's the style of deathcore
And-
that they're going for, and Lorna Shore
Yeah.
has obviously like popularized it. They're the face of it, so it's hard to like separate them from that comparison. The thing is, though, this is best case scenario for me. Like, when I hear a band like Lorna Shore that's that fucking good, I think, let me get 50 more bands who are willing to give this a shot and put their spin on it, and boom, here we
Yeah.
have Mental Cruelty, and they're willing to go out there and say, all right, I'm going to do something that is pretty similar to what they're doing, but we're going to put a few stylistic touches on there that separate us from them. And I don't know if there's quite enough to ever like fully make me forget where the inspiration is coming from, but they're definitely trying. Like, we're
Well-
not just doing like a copycat.
On tracks like Zwielicht, though, like the title track on here, that is a song unlike anything Lorna Shore has ever attempted, right? It's essentially it's like it feels like an old fucking sea shanty or some shit. Like, it's a very Norse, like, everyone sing along to this fucking, you know, like, hard to explain, but it's like just very vocal heavy, not a ton of instrumentals, and it's like sort of outright clean singing.
You know what it
right?
is for me? You know what a little bit of it is for me that I think this band brings to this project is their culture. Like, it feels like there's a little Europe in this record.
I'm not gonna lie, like, deathcore albums are better when it's European.
Wow. I don't think that's even partially true based on the fact of where we started in this conversation.
Well,
but
I'm just saying, like if you're a European deathcore band, you get more points right off the bat. I'm not going to say you're ending with more points.
you got a head start.
But it's a good, like, I don't know.
You mentioned it
Extra
earlier,
cushion.
but it is worth noting again that the vocalist for this band, Lucas Nicolai, is an absolute fucking monstrosity behind the microphone. Like, the way that he's able to keep pace with the intensity of the rest of this band is absolutely fucking astonishing.
Yeah, and it's like there's a pretty consistent breakneck pace here. But like, so we mentioned it earlier with the title track, there's other songs on here though that there is just outright singing.
Yeah.
And it's very few and far between, but like it does exist. That does separate this band from someone like Lorna Shore, at least for now, because I do have a feeling Lorna might pivot one day. So that you have like acoustic guitar work at points too. A lot of the chances this band takes, I believe, pay off in a way that not only does it sound good, but I think it separates them from maybe who their influences might be as well.
Right. Like there's enough
short periods of time.
There's enough flavor here. Yeah.
Sure.
So but ultimately it's like the fact that it reminds me so much of the style of deathcore that I like is honestly also so in its favor that it's part of the reason that like I found myself so attached to this record. At the end of the day, there is a level of hype that builds within me when you get that like a little bit of that like orchestral like build up right before it like explodes, and then we come back and we do like cut out all the instruments and it's just the vocals and they're absolutely fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm an absolute fucking sucker for it. I think there's a consistency to this record that's really admirable too, where like it never really fumbles on any moment to deliver just like the maximum like most satisfying moment imaginable. It's just for the most part it's pure blistering chaos from start to finish, with this some little exceptions to like add some texture to the overall record, which I think works in its favor. But like for the most part, this gives you exactly what you wanted, and I think there's something to be said for that. Do
you have a favorite song on this one?
All right, so okay, The Arrogance of Agony has this moment where like the vocals repeat and like they almost echo, and it's one of the coolest fucking things I've heard all year. Yeah. So that's like up there for me. I also really liked Symphony of a Dying Star, which has this really unique blend of like power metal which underlays like the deathcore, but it like they blend it really like seamlessly. Those two would probably be up top with me outside of actually, you know what, I'm fucking running it back because there's also like Pest is really good.
So that one is up there for me. Like the last minute, like that repetition of those two lines over and over again throughout that duration, like just real. It's like it's one of the only songs on here that like fades out in a really satisfying way, and like I don't know, that song is really impressive. But I'm sort of right there with you. The Arrogance of Agony. I really liked Mortar Shells. And again, there's not a ton of tracks on here, so like we covered.
There are a decent amount of tracks, so and I feel like all the one like suddenly we're starting to name so many songs that you start to think to yourself like, is there a bad track on this record? Not really. I have toyed with giving this a full out perfect score, and I'm not sure if I'm there. Like I'm gonna settle at a 4.5, but there are moments where I felt that this might just be because it speaks to me so directly. You know what I mean? Like it gives me exactly what. So from like my point of view, this record was like perfect. I don't know if it's one of the best records I've heard all year though. So it's like I'm a little bit like in between myself there. So I'm gonna say it's like a highly recommended 4.5, like insanely enjoyable deathcore record.
This one is really satisfying. I'm a little far off from the 4.5 this time around though. I think that this is a 3.5 for now, and it has the potential of, like, for me, ballooning up to maybe a 4.5. I don't know about a 5, but I think right now I look at this album and I think to myself, it's really satisfying. I do want to spend more time with it, though.
Okay, fair.